Emphasize breathing, emphasize awareness, or don't. It's up to you, but that's what I'm doing. Feels pretty good. And in seeing, just seeing what is seen without conceiving about what is seen. In hearing, just hearing about what is heard without thinking about, without conceiving about what is heard. I try to practice letting go of everything, even letting go of my ideas about how to practice or that I should practice, that I should put forth effort in some particular way. I try to let go of that entirely as much as I can. Now, I'm, I'm practicing that and doing that from a lot of experience of exerting great effort. So you may have to be careful and considerate and contemplative about your own way of practicing to put forth no effort. To put forth no effort at all. But remember, we can oftentimes think that we're doing nothing, but actually we're doing a lot of things, like we're watching TikTok and YouTube and eating rotisserie chickens from Costco and things like that. So this way of doing nothing is very present minded. And I was thinking about that. I was thinking about the question of how are you doing now? how can you answer that question? How are you doing now? Not a few seconds ago, not in general, not a few seconds from now, how you expect to be going, but how are you doing now? And that is almost like a meditation invitation. Hello, how are you today? You okay today? Yeah. Beginning again. Banana. And I want to admit something to everyone, and that is that I have found myself getting too worked up and too focused on connecting with the algorithm and maybe wearing funny hats or wearing funny clothes. Well, we're going to try to keep it to the deeper and deeper teachings as time goes by, as we continue being concerned with supporting one another. Yeah, Timon, you have to be a little bit weird to gain followers, but if you're just focusing on gaining followers, you can miss out on the opportunity to share what you really have to share. Or I can see myself doing that, and people may be getting a wrong idea about um, my perspective. Definitely not to be mean, okay? So we don't need to be mean because there's enough meanness in ourselves and in the world, isn't there? Like the last thing I want to deal with ever is more mean people. So instead of looking for excuses to be mean or to judge or to be the bully, maybe start looking for excuses to not do that no matter what. Sound like a good idea to me, huh? Because nobody's perfect. I mean, we're all going to have to make mistakes and go through difficulties in our life. So why not have kindness established as a rule instead of just some vague idea, some vague talking point? Well, fun can be very overrated. You know what I mean? Fun's a word you have to be careful with. Play less so. So to say that we should play, I think there's a lot of safety and a lot of flexibility in that. But saying let's go have fun, it can be very dangerous, very confusing, very problematic. And I think most of us here know what I'm talking about. I love this idea of being open to awareness. And I guess awareness is so like naturally clear and potent and powerful that thoughts disappear in awareness. And if I never had to think again, I don't think I would have a problem with that. I don't know what this dog's name is. Just a dog. In terms of like all of us here being people or being selves, right? We're broken. So what do you do with something that's broken? If something's broken, you don't need to adjust it. Just let it go. If something is afflicted or suffering or difficult or negative, you don't need to figure it out like a puzzle. You just need to let it go. As Nelly said, drop it like it's hot. If something doesn't work, just let it go. If something's too hot, just let it go. If something's too cold, just let it go. You can use your breathing as like a barometer, as like an awareness machine to determine if something's working or if something's not working. If something's causing you to suffer or something's not causing you to suffer. Let your breathing flow. Let your breathing open up your ego. Back to awareness. Back to not needing to think about anything. Need is exhausting, right? You need to go to work. You need to pay your bills. You need to do this. You need to do that. In breathing, no needing. So stay with breathing and drop needing. Drop all these stories around need. You already have everything that you need, or you wouldn't be here listening to this. So, what does it mean to have everything you need? What does it mean to not need more? It means time to rest, time to be brilliantly and brightly, restfully aware. Give the ego, give the thinking, give the self a rest. Don't try to arrest the ego and force the ego into a box and force the ego to be a meditator or a monk or whatever. Rest the ego, rest the self. Give it a rest. Give your constant, nonstop thinking a rest. You don't need to look at me. Look over there. Look out into space. Let everything be the way that it is. Be free from everything. You can even like drop a seed of your trauma or your fear or your worry that's going on in your life or has been in the past into that field of awareness, and you can see how it's just totally irrelevant. It's just totally empty. So, this field of awareness, this is the field of blessings. Blessings that are beyond cause and effect, beyond ego, beyond self and other, beyond any kind of complicated thinking, beyond any kind of human comprehension. And we can also call this the field of your true awareness or the field of your true nature. But we don't have to call it anything. It's to be free from calling, to be free from labeling, to be free from identifying. Or maybe it's just enough to feel free and not to be bothering anything, not to be tickling anything, not to be agitating anything. You don't need to cook potatoes to eat them. Just eat it. Don't embarrass yourself. Don't put yourself down in that way. Don't be aggressive. Just be aware. Feel the bliss of awareness. Feel the pleasantness, the wonderfulness, the freshness of awareness. Good smell. Good smell, stink dog. There's a heaviness that comes from dealing with a lot of people, especially a lot of people with um, broken egos, uh, kind of real retarded people. And this means people who don't value virtue in life. They don't value mindfulness. They don't value questioning anything. They kind of already know everything. And you can't necessarily control that because you have to go to work, and you are retarded in your own right. But what we can do is to prioritize and value awareness or freedom from complicated BS when we have access to it. to actually be curious, to actually look deeply, to actually listen deeply when we have our own time. But if we're going home from our retarded workplace and getting more and more retarded by drinking alcohol and watching pornography and all these other kinds of things that we might be doing to kind of cope with our suffering, we may be missing out on this deeper truth, this deeper principle of who we really are. And I would say mostly that comes from a real curiosity and a real openness to question, to not understand, to be open to not understanding, to be open to not knowing. Buddhism or meditation or the enlightenment factor, the fruit of enlightenment, it's not really something that you can know about as such, right? It's more like experientially beyond yourself, beyond story, beyond words and phrases. And that's where you get the kind of transmission from the spaceship of enlightenment, that willingness to be in a world, in a direct experience of not knowing and not understanding. And these assumptions that we make up, we're constantly kind of pretending that we know what's going on. And what that means is we don't allow other people to be human beings. We make other people characters in the dream of ourselves, and we superimpose on them random ideas and beliefs. And it can be in a very gross way, like Astro here, but it can also be in a very subtle way, right? Where we're constantly just making things up about our lives and our reality and our experience. So we don't have to do that. You know, it's what keeps us locked into our kind of prism, our prison of our apartment and the way that we usually do things and the cycles of suffering that we usually go through. When actually we can break out of that. We can break through that. Excuse me, Em, can turn down a little bit the volume. You know, a lot of the things that we listen to can be super retarded and super stupid, but we just go on and on and on listening to those kinds of things, and we break ourselves. We break our minds, we break our lives. You know, things also that we do that don't benefit us, that don't help us. Come on, break out of the loops of nonsense now. You know what I mean? It's like it takes a bullshitter to know a bullshitter. So if you're a bullshitter, it's not going to be that difficult for you to know yourself, to recognize yourself. But you may have that like unwillingness to recognize yourself, you know what I mean? So that unwillingness is like to fully know all the time. But yourself or who you really are, it can't be known as such. It can't be seen like a potato is seen, right? Because the self is kind of transparent. It's kind of like a ghost. So you have to be open to that unknowing, right? And stop, once again, we have Astros here just pretending and assuming up and creating up these random stories. So we don't have to cling to these random stories that we bring up moment by moment. The same story that Astro is projecting, right? It's just assuming up, it's just creating up stories unnecessarily when we don't have to do that. There is a directness of experience in the here and now. It's just a way to say it. It's not it, right? Doesn't matter what I say, goobly gop or the most poetic sounding pointer towards awareness possible. That's not it. But there is a direct experience here that's not based in complicated thoughts or stories or what have you. And why is rarely as helpful that we think that it is. Why is very unnecessary. This is one of the reasons why kind of we say, hey, don't get high, don't get drunk, don't get stoned, don't get wasted, because you might find yourself in a situation like this where the Dhamma is being shared, or awareness is being pointed to, or enlightenment is being talked about, and you have completely excluded yourself from that conversation because of how dizzy, how lost you are in intoxication, or really in anger, greed, or delusion. So weed specifically really turns up the nozzle on delusion. We're already delusional enough as it is. And then alcohol is very primed for anger or for greed, this wanting for more. So this isn't about like getting more and more ideas or more and more thoughts or more and more complicated things for us to gather up and hold on to. This is about letting go. Letting go in the same way that death comes to meet us. So it doesn't matter if you have a job or you don't have a job, or you're sick or you're ugly, or your girlfriend or your boyfriend leaves you or whatever. This letting go is all inclusive. This letting go doesn't care at all about the story that you tell about yourself or the story that you tell about others. Just doesn't care at all. Doesn't matter. We give a lot of special importance to our uniqueness or our self or our ego, but really we're all human beings and we're not that unique. What applies to one can apply to another. There is no I and there is no self. And that's why we can be so easy to go around in these circles and circles and cycling about the same old kind of suffering, the same old kind of confusion, the same old kind of problems, because there is no self to be in control. There's nobody in the driver's seat. All those guys with the big, fat, strong muscles, right? The moment they stop taking steroids, the moment they stop working out and constantly putting forth all this effort, they deflate like a balloon deflates. So nothing is permanent. Even the physicality, the physical muscles and strength and all those things that we can develop. The same with our mental intelligence, right? Oh, okay, you're good at chess. So what? The question is, are you able to be at peace with yourself now? Are you able to be peace now? Are you able to stop assuming up and creating up all these thoughts about other people and then grabbing onto those thoughts and shaking them around and pointing the blame at that other person that's right in front of you? Your thoughts are not the world. Your thoughts are not anybody else. Your thoughts aren't even who you are. It's more like you're the awareness of those thoughts. If there has to be a you, if there has to be a someone. If you are not virtuous, you cannot rest. Be careful, be good. Don't play around with the darkness because the darkness will play around with you. Let go and step back. No idealistic view about yourself or the world. The Buddha said this world is a big pile of shit. That's not for you to jump in the shit and swim around in it and go crazy and act ridiculous. That's for you to say, hey, that's shit. You looked over there. You thought that. So what? And we kind of know this, so what? We know that it's not so important what we think. We know that it's not so important what we do. So we're kind of looking to reaffirm importance about what we do and what we think. We're addicted to tension, contraction, perpetuation, stimulation about what we think or what we do. Stimulate, stimulate. Someone respond to my comment. Someone make that comment, make that idea more repetitive, believe in it with me, etc., etc. Shut up, Derek. If I needed donos, you'd have to pay to be here to begin with. That's a good question. Why do you need to tell us anything? What motivated you to speak? The one that got away. I mean, I can't explain this. I cannot explain this. And I don't feel like I have to explain this. This is not explainable as such. Always looking for explanations, but there's not really a clear-cut explanation of everything. And it's kind of like that. We're looking for the Big Bang Theory. We're looking for what was the beginning of the universe. What is the beginning of this experience? This experience is beginningless. In a narrower context, this is also unexplainable. I'm living my life in a way to be unexplainable. This doesn't really have anything to do with monetization or me like trying to pay my bills or something like that. Maybe there's something in this about human connection, connectivity. Doesn't matter if somebody's good or bad, it's not good to wish badness onto them because they are just like another aspect of yourself. So if you wish badness onto yourself, I'd say that's not a good idea. Not because you think about it, not because you read your astrology cards for it. It's just not a good thing to do. It's not recommended to wish badness onto yourself. I'm located here on the Monk Life Meditation YouTube channel and also located on WhatsApp. Use your eyes to see, use your ears to hear what is already right now. Sounds nice, time traveler. I was a Buddhist monk for 7 years. So we have some time now for people to call in through WhatsApp. You can also just send a message and connect and let me know about where you are on your spiritual journey and how long you've been following and what you're hoping to get out of this. That can be very helpful to inform my teaching and my sharing for everyone, not just for you. So you can send a message through WhatsApp, all right? Go ahead. We may think about it like this. Not life, not the world, not the universe, but this experience, or this as it already is, this as it already is right here and right now, is inexplicably totally out of our control as human beings. It's also totally and completely not understandable. So there's a chair, there's orange, there's a this, there's a that, there's another person, this is a place, this is a country, etc., etc. There are so many variables, there are so many things, mental things and material things. There's no chance to understand everything in terms of things. Everything can only be understood in terms of nothing. Nothing being together with everything. Everything being together with nothing. So that is like what you could call the true spirit or the real spirit. We get confused because there's this idea that we have about separation, that this is separate from that what I'm seeing is separate from what is seeing. But in nature or in the universe, there's no such thing as separation. There's only separation in terms of a thought, in terms of an idea, an apparent separation. But there's not any real such thing as separation. Oh, I'm sorry, everybody. I put the wrong number here. Look at me. Maybe I've been smoking on that Buddhism pack a little bit too much. It's fixed now. We also can't say that we are just atoms and particles. The intention or the direction behind that might be good, might be clear, but it's saying that we are just things. We are just these things that we can imagine about, right? That we are nama or rupa, that we are materiality or we are mentality. When really the idea of we is just an idea, still based in separation. Yeah. And so euthanasia, one of the reasons that we go through these kundalini experiences or these intense spiritual experiences, and then we have reoccurring psychological trauma, is because we don't have access to the Dhamma. We don't have access to spiritual teachers. We don't have access to spiritual teachings. We don't have access to the technology of not thinking, basically. And so that makes everything a mess. Doesn't matter how much Kundalini or DMT or mushrooms or whatever you take, you're still going to be stuck in this mess of lack of technology to deal with reality as it is, or to take refuge to realize reality as it is. So the numbers should be correct now, friends. Go ahead and call in. Go ahead and call in. Don't be shy. So the number is specifically for WhatsApp. You cannot call just as a normal number. You have to use the app WhatsApp to call, because I'm not in the US, so I can't receive phone calls on that number, normal phone calls. Basically, practice or train to not believe what you think. You don't need to believe in what you think right now. You don't need to protect yourself. You don't need to present yourself in a particular way. You don't need to be convinced of anything right now. You don't need to convince anyone else of anything right now. It's totally unnecessary to believe anything right now. Totally, completely unnecessary. Everything is changing on a molecular level, moment by moment. The entire mind is changing, the entire body is changing. Your ego or your thought process that controls change or puts change into a box of thinking is totally irrelevant to awareness or to reality as it is in the here and now. So let it be irrelevant. Let what you think be irrelevant. Let what you believe be irrelevant. Give up, give away, sacrifice your reactivity. You can be reactive. You can think it through. You can try to figure out. Give it up, give it away. You're attached to figuring it out. You're attached to understanding it. You're attached to it being a particular way. So abandon it, give it up, give it away. Practice to sacrifice it. Be hopeless. Be hopelessly aware. Be hopelessly open to failure. This idea of success, this idea of getting what we want, is making our lives a living hell. Give it up, give it away. Let go of the idea of success. Let go of the idea of developing something. Let go of this idea about difficulty. You're giving a special importance to what's difficult. You're giving a special importance to what's easy. It doesn't need to be difficult or easy. It doesn't need to be about anything. It's never about anything. It can't be about anything because it's free of things. Things exist within it without trapping it in things. It is not a thing. Awareness is not a thing. Space is not a thing. So this is like thingless awareness. Awareness that's free of things, even as things appear. I don't know. Enlightenment isn't a thing that somebody gets. That's what the masters say. It's not a thing that someone can get. It's free of someone's. Can you think about that? Think of a movie that has no characters in it. Think of a movie that has no places in it. Think of a movie that has no words in it. Now watch that movie. Wonderful liminal. Let go of the idea of success, and failure will also disappear. Free of success, free of failure. Is it okay to do it like this sometimes, without video and just audio? I probably will help people concentrate a little bit more. Sometimes it's distracting for me too to have my face looking back at me. It's like if I was giving a meditation talk and I just had a mirror set up in front of me, and so I couldn't see any of the people that were there practicing. I will probably set up another Discord at some point, but right now it's just more work. And the last thing I want to give myself right now is more work. Yeah, go ahead and feel free to call in. You can also consider that like an action of generosity, an action of self sacrifice, an action of vulnerability. Voice call is okay, no need for video. Hi, JT. Hello and welcome, everyone. This is your good chance and good opportunity to ask the questions about enlightenment and to share your experience and your understanding. Hello,
Hello, bhantevp. How are you?
I'm okay.
That's good to hear. I had a couple of questions, I suppose.
Yeah, go ahead. What kind of questions do you have?
Uh, I'm someone who is considering ordaining. Um, However, I'm not quite sure if that decision is based on, not really having the lay life that I wanted, or if it's based on a genuine desire to ordain and follow that way of life. And I suppose I wanted, your input, your ideas.
Well, this is all experimental. So as you prioritize spirituality or meditation or getting further along on the path, uh, you're going to have to sacrifice a lot. So this is just an example of practicing self-sacrifice. That's not easy to do. And being a monk for, where are you at right now?
At the moment, I'm in Australia.
Yeah. Being a monk for the short term or the long term is not uh, not inaccessible. It's possible for you to do that, but you have to be ready to sacrifice and um, to practice sacrifice, just like to practice making donations or practice volunteering, is essential to seeing through the veil of yourself, right? The veil of your self grasping and your self identification. But it's not some all or nothing thing. There's not an assembly of people that are waiting for you to be a monk or waiting for you to take your journey and your path more seriously. So
That's
it's
true.
up to you, right? And we can go on talking about things, thinking about things, or we can step into the practice. You know what I mean? And it's always a good
Mm.
idea to experiment and to try to step into the practice, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I have been thinking of going on more long-term retreats or living in a monastery or volunteering long-term and see how it goes for me. I guess I am a bit worried that, I might make the decision to dedicate my life to it or make a drastic decision and then years down the line, to change my mind or something like that, just a silly fear of mine.
Well, what will happen, what you will do when you become a monk is you kind of fast track your spiritual perspective. So in the spiritual perspective, we're not in charge. We're not the boss. There's a teacher, there's a master, and we do what they tell us to do. And we're much less of control in our life than we would otherwise be. So you don't get to kind of wiggle around as much as you would as a layperson when you do that as a monk. Just like if you went to an intensive meditation retreat, only now this is an intensive meditation retreat of how you're living your life, right? And so there's this added degree of intensity or intimacy that you can't avoid.
Yeah, that's true. I think another thing that I was wondering is in terms of traditions. I sometimes I worry that what about which tradition to pick. Like Gelugpa is pretty popular in this part of Australia. But they're a bit more scholastic, and I do wonder, would I be doing spiritual bypassing, choosing a certain tradition, or
Well, we got to
I
be clear about this. We got to be clear about this. When you like for you to become a monk, it means that you have a lot of blessings to be able to go and live in a monastery. Any monastery. There's a lot of people who would like to become a monk or who have thought about becoming a monk or have tried to become a monk and they couldn't. And it's not because they didn't think about it enough, it's because they didn't have the blessings to do that.
Mm,
So any temple or monastery that will accept you, that's a starting point. But once again, it's you're losing your self-direction, you're renouncing your life. You see what I'm saying? So, like the
yeah,
conversations about you spiritual bypassing, or is this the good tradition, or is this the ideal situation, are totally irrelevant. You're going to be told, shut up and meditate, shut up and follow the precepts, shut up and follow the schedule. That's it. They don't
mm,
care about your opinion or if this is your right path or if things are working out for you and the places that would be willing to have that kind of conversation with you, it's going to take a lot of blessings and a lot of investment to be able to go and be at those places, period, let alone to become a monk in those places. You see what I'm saying? So there's
mm,
this egoic idea of getting something, and the ego feels that its very presence is valuable to others because that's the only
mm,
existence of the ego, right? So when you become a monk or when you come to listen to spiritual teachings or something like that, you're taking refuge. Like when I went to become a monk, I was taking refuge. Like I needed to sacrifice my life. I needed to give up my life because I saw that none of the material things in the world were working out. Period. And so a lot of these concepts we just don't have as a Westerner. There's no such thing as going to refuge in the spiritual community. There's no such thing as that. You know what I mean? You might go to church and pray to God and hope that things work out for you. But there's no such thing as going for refuge in the community of monks and nuns or in the Sangha or taking refuge in the Buddha or taking refuge in the Dhamma. So it's an entire otherworldly experience where basically your ego isn't going to have anything to do with anything.
yeah,
Your thoughts are not going to have anything to do with anything. So it humbles you very, very quickly. You're going to be very, very quickly humbled. Um, and it's not I see many people, they're kind of young men usually, they're shopping around for a monastery like it's a meditation, like it's a vacation or something, like they're looking for their apartment home in Florida. It doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? It's according to blessings that you can go and ordain or even go and live at a temple or stay at a meditation center or a monastery. It's not about you picking
yeah,
and choosing or shopping around.
yeah. I definitely agree with that. I do feel like I've been thinking about it the wrong way, and I'm glad that you've confirmed that because I do think that if it is something I'm going to do, whether it's temporarily or not, it's not going to be like a product or a shoe that just fits you. I think you're just going to have to make yourself fit into it, I guess. Um, yeah.
It's according to
Wondering,
blessings.
what do
It's
you think?
not it's not according to your
Yeah,
determinations, right? It's according to your blessings. And what
yeah,
we're right now we're working with the mind. We're not working with the body. So if we're working with the body, like let's say you wanted to be a better arm wrestler or you wanted to join an arm wrestling gym, right? If you came here and you gripped up with my arm and I was stronger than you and had more technique than you, the only option is that your ego is insane and disassociates from that reality, or you say, okay, this guy is stronger and more technical, so I can ask him for tips and I can ask him, who are good arm wrestlers and where can I go and things like that. You know what I mean? But because it's in terms of the mind, it's so, 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 so subtle that it's only according to your blessings that you're going to go more towards enlightenment or more towards taking refuge in the path leading to enlightenment or not. You're not going to be able to determine it, right? Because even if you're then convinced, like you're convinced that I'm a more skillful arm wrestler or something like that, and then you try to follow my advice because you're convinced or because you're in a state of belief, this isn't about belief, right? The path to enlightenment or the path to connecting more closely with people who are more or less enlightened has nothing to do with you being convinced about that or not. So you could call it luck, but there's not really any such thing as luck. It's very, very subtle cause and effect. It's so, so subtle. So our blessings come from our willing to sacrifice what we're holding on to give up what we are holding on to, because that is outside the purview of the craving and of the desire. The desire always wants more of what it wants. The fear always wants less of what it doesn't want. So our capacity to hold, to realize something that we're holding on to, and then to give that away, put, puts us into the line of blessings, puts us into the line of generosity.
Yeah, I, um, that's a really good point you made. I was also wondering, as someone who's, like a lot of young people struggle with mental health and OCD and whatnot. These sorts of things, kind of looked at. Would they look at that when when you consider ordaining? Is that something that would, be something they reject you for?
Well, there is no such thing as they in this case or in this situation. And a lot of the ideas that we have about our mental health are just like coping mechanisms. Like, for example, there's going to be no air conditioning at the monastery, most probably. So, what are you going to do about that? So, we're talking about ADD and these kinds of things, but I'd bet you that 90% of the people in America have ACHD, right? They have air conditioning hyperactive disorder. So, a lot of these things are just coping mechanisms for the ego, right? We're taking on anything that will validate our sense of self. We're taking on anything that will validate our continual, complicated, compulsive thinking. And we're not taking on those things that will say, hey, look, stop thinking and start listening.
Yeah. I guess a final question would be any advice for sort of, catching your intentions? Because I think like sometimes I do feel that maybe I'm trying to escape by, considering going, and ordaining, but I'm not sure because I do have an interest in the Dharma at the same time.
Listen, there's no better use of your money than to go and explore concerned with the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. There's no better use of your money than that. So if you can save up some money, a couple $100, a couple $1,000, and you can go and live for a week or a month or whatever at a monastery in Thailand, which I can recommend to you places, etc., then you just go and do that because that's a wonderful use of your time. You believe in vacations, don't you? You believe in exploring, don't you? Yeah, but this is more real than a vacation. This is to take more seriously your concern with the Dhamma. So you're thinking about it in terms of yourself or your ego, when really it's an opportunity for you to sacrifice yourself. And so the motivation is just in your willingness to sacrifice yourself in a timeless way. But in terms of time, you can make arrangements to spend more time at Ajahn Brahm's meditation center in Australia. You can You can sacrifice yourself to take more time to listen to Ajahn Brahm's Dhamma talks and also the other monks that are a part of the Buddhist Insights of Western Australia through that YouTube channel, right? You can make arrangements to self-sacrifice yourself through a Vipassana retreat, a 10-day Vipassana retreat, to go through hell like that. You know what I mean? And that's going to be one of the best ways to determine how far you want to take this. When you go through a meditation retreat like that, you can look back and say, hey, is this actually what I want to do? Or do I just want to be a more full spectrum, more serious lay practitioner and lay supporter on the path? Because all of the elements of ordaining are just going to be like a fast track for practicing meditation more seriously and for taking refuge and being supported in the path more seriously. That's all. There's not some special thing about you spending the rest of your life as a monk. Good luck spending 1 day as a monk, 2 days as a monk, 1 week, 1 month as a monk. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that the problem is these big ideas that we have about becoming a monk and becoming enlightened. And really, it would probably be better if we just lay down and listen to a Dhamma talk and get our ego out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Those were some really good answers. I really do appreciate all this.
Yeah, you're welcome, brother. I mean, this is this is what, I went through from 20 years old when I was basically in a state of psychosis to going and living at a Zen Buddhist meditation center for a year, kind of like a monastery without monks, and practicing meditation very seriously, and then attending Vipassana retreats, attending Korean Zen retreats. And then in 2018, with a couple bucks in my pocket, for the first time ever leaving the country and going to Thailand and ordaining as a monk. You know what I mean? And living 7 years through monasteries and meditation centers and with masters from around the world. The question is just how willing you are to put down your ego. And the answer to that is how far you're going to be able to get practically in the path. Not in some big idea of your life story, but in the here and now, in today.
That's absolutely true. I'm sorry that you went through that psychosis. I know people who went through it, and it's definitely tough. Um,
What you're going to realize when you become a monk is that you're psychotic. That the ADHD or things like that is the lace to your problems. And that's why there's this push or this blockage from us becoming a monk, because we don't want to look at our mind that closely. We don't want to lose our coping mechanisms that directly. We want to keep living in the way that we're living. And that's, and just in terms of the practicality of becoming a monk or going to a meditation retreat, we just have to humble ourselves and try rather than commenting about the quality of the Dhamma talk or, the niceness of the monastery, if it composts or if people there speak English or whatever. It's a exercise in self-sacrifice, not in self-extrapolation.
yeah, that's definitely. I think I need to let go of control because I definitely, have been kind of shopping around and thinking, what if it doesn't fix me and all that, and I experience things from the past again. But I do need to be sacrificial, I reckon. Anyways, thank you for your time, and I should probably get going now, sun's getting low.
Okay, thank you, brother. Please take good care of yourself.
I will. Thank you very much.
All right, bye.
Bye bye.
Another soul saved. Let's get some big W's in the chat for our friend Phil's off for calling in and being vulnerable and sharing deeply. Yeah, good guy, good candidate. And thank you, Julie, for your $20 donation. I am in the process right now of finding an apartment here in Dalat, here in Vietnam. So it's very helpful. There's some beautiful rain outside. Would anybody like to see the beautiful rain? Let's get some W's in the chat for the rain.
Reality has different dimensions. It's not just one single unitary dimension. It's like a film. It has a visual track, and it has a sound track, and the level of basic desire. So it is seen as one, but there's three tracks that are simultaneous and yet can be experienced and investigated separately. Everything is right, wrong. There's this something, this sound, this some space that can't exist. That's the performance. Here's where you take the performance track. The performance track. Just to see things as food. There's a part of our consciousness which is entirely programmed to just perform. Everything is formed. That's a film.
Now, if they can't let it go, then you have to let it go. That's how we help each other on the path of enlightenment. Hello? What can I do for you, Ryan?
I just need some advice. I've watched you on this live, and man, I just want to commend you for your job well done, man. You have handled so many situations on this live that's just like, it's profound, man. I'm amazed at how enlightened you are, man. Like, you give direct solutions to everyone's, I mean, that's amazing. So I just want to ask, so in the process of clearing your mind of thoughts, but you know there's something that needs to be done in your day, and it goes with, and you do it without thought. What is that? Is that just action? Is that taking action? So can you explain that to me? When I don't act on my thoughts, but in the but in my day I'm acting on not my thoughts, but just what needs to be done. What is that?
You should recognize timelessness. So you should recognize the emptiness of the past and the emptiness of the future. Just like you recognize the emptiness of a dream. Otherwise, your whole day would be lost. You wouldn't be able to, because you just had this mystical or mesmerizing or scary or inexplicable experience. And now you're supposed to go on with your daily life. So daily life itself is kind of this inexplicable experience, this unknown, inexplicable experience.
Okay. You're just experiencing it.
Well, that's the dream. The dream is that you're experiencing it. The wakefulness or the awareness is that there's nobody that's experiencing it. It's a happening, it's an unfolding, it's cause and effect only. But we had a different belief, we had a different idea, but actually it's cause and effect only. Actually, it is that way, but we just didn't realize that. So as much as we recognize that we didn't realize that, we can realize it. And then we fall back. We fall back from the front lines of conflict or understanding or figuring out into the embodiment of awareness.
Dr. Rob, I want to meet you one day.
You can meet me through your practice. You can meet me through your generosity. You can meet me through your self-sacrifice.
Yes, doctor. Okay.
Really, really, really.
I know this. You have proven to me that it is true, man.
Because that's where I'm meeting you. I'm not meeting you in where what I think about you, right? That might come up. What I think about you or what idea, something like that, right? What do I want from you? I want you to keep doing what you're doing, right? We have these kinds of thoughts. So I can abandon that. I can forgive that. I can renounce that. I can detach from that actively by being free from I and me and you and self and other, and the kind of the drifting and the cycling in thoughts. So just to step back into the embodiment of awareness that already is, not like it's something that I have to do or something that I have to generate. So that's the natural meditation. That's the real meditation practice. Right? Bodhidharma said, to realize awareness is liberation. So let it be that way. Let it be that way.
Thank Dr. Rob.
All right. Take care, Ryan. Thanks for your call. Love you, brother. Bye-bye.
Love you too. Bye.
Whole lot of love. Whole lot of love. Just let it be what it is. Let it be what it is. Can you hear the thunder? RKS, is RKS mutual, Ryan? I want to check in here. Is RKS mutual, Mr. Ryan? Yeah. So, dear brother, as wonderful as it is to see the big pink box and your comment when you donate, um, it's better for both of us if you use the PayPal or something like that, because we don't need YouTube coming in and taking 30%. So just to keep in mind, but I really appreciate it, brother, in whatever way it comes. It's a lot more beautiful and inspiring for everybody here when you donate that way, but uh, yeah, very cool. Thank you, RICAS. You're inspiring people here. And I was thinking about you often, so thank you for calling today. Just send me a message on WhatsApp or something like that if you want to get the PayPal, and I can share it with you there. But there's a different tone, there's a different feeling, at least for me, doing this kind of work and sharing like this, um, when people are, you know, can you hear the lightning? Can you hear the lightning, the thunder? For whatever reason that people take this seriously, and then they start to express that in different ways by making donation or showing up regularly. There's a really different tone to that from, if this was like a course that I was selling, you know what I mean? And the people were here because I had gotten them to buy something. I'd gotten them to sign up for something, and there's like a price for this, but there is no price for this. And I think that's very beautiful. There's so many. I was talking with some people like last night, and we were talking about how like uh, saturated the market or the space is for people who want to be like spiritual influencers or spiritual coaches, spiritual teachers. You know what I mean? And I think what's not saturated is people who are doing this kind of work, regardless if they're more or less skillful or more or less experienced, but are doing this just through generosity and are able to sustain their livelihood through the generosity of people that are concerned with these teachings and these gatherings and these meetings, etc., rather than selling it. So I'm happy to find myself in that position, and I'd rather never be out of that position. Because there's really a feeling of this inexplicable connection being there through generosity that I don't think is there through selling people something. You know what I mean? Like clearly there's some kind of affinity, there's some kind of connection here. Why we feel inspired to support each other, why we feel able to support each other. That's not based in transactions. JT, I'm probably going to listen to that again. I love that interview. I listened to it before, and I'm going to listen to it again even more closely. How imperfect can it get? Very, very imperfect, and that's okay. You know what I mean? That's We build up all that suffering and stress and anxiety and depression and complicatedness because we're not okay with how imperfect it is and how imperfect it can get and how imperfect it can be and how okay it can be for it to be that imperfect and how free we can be from the okayness of that imperfection rather than our trying to control it or judge it. So in a certain way, we have to slowly let our stress receptors kind of lose their energy, because we've given so much importance to stress. We've given so much importance to stress being this way that we are able to go and do things like wake up and go to school. So we were indoctrinated to be stressful about our lives and to value stress over awareness. And that's why we're constantly seeking for excitement, we're constantly seeking for stimulation, we're constantly seeking for involvement. In a certain way, we're almost like seeking for conflict. We're looking for the conflict in what's going on, instead of just letting go into the way that it is. And being a little bit closed-minded. We're a little bit closed-minded about how we have to present ourselves and how we have to live our lives and how we have to work with different elements and different dynamics, how we have to use these words instead of those words. We have to teach in this way instead of that way. We form this sort of idealism, and it doesn't matter how you justify it. Any way of doing things is unnecessary. Any particular way of using these words or those words is unnecessary. Any value judgments given to anything, given to everything, given to nothing is unnecessary. So unnecessariness. Unnecessariness is a very valuable teaching. It's an energetic core. It's an essential ingredient to being free instead of being trapped. So when someone's asking us where the toilet is, do we tell them, there's no such thing as you, it's just an illusion? And not just someone, but maybe our partner or our friend or our child or our grandparent, etc. Do we say there's no such thing as self, it's just an appearance? You can apparently go to the bathroom. No, that's ridiculous. And everyone is everything if they're nothing. So we create these value judgments, we create these systems of presentation and these systems of right and wrong, and it's all irrelevant. I'm not saying to throw discernment out the window. I'm saying that discernment is not confined to your usual way of acting and your usual way of thinking about things and your usual way of presenting. And if there's nothing usual about you, let me get a taste of that. Let me get a sight of that. Freely, without contrivance, without limit, without needing to go into dualistic points of view. Right? Wrong? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Mind nobody's business. Mind busylessness. Mind businesslessness. Because you have just as much access to businesslessness or busylessness as you have access to working. Otherwise you'd be chained and in a machine that's always using your body. That's not the way that it is. There's a lot of flexibility, there's a lot of openness, there's a lot of time to stop and reflect. on serenity, on awareness, on presence. There's tons of that time and energy. We are chained to what we think we are chained to. So stop thinking and remove the chains of thought that were never there to begin with. But that seeming like somewhere is transparent. It dissolves itself. It's free of itself. It's apparently an appearance. Even in its appearance, it is apparently an appearance. It's not difficult to see it as an appearance. Revolving through the door of somewhere and not somewhere, somewhere and not somewhere. Free from both, free from the war of somewhere or not somewhere. And that's, would seem to be more in line with not somewhere, but that's also just a somewhere, the somewhere of not somewhere. So instead of ruminating on the thoughts or the understanding about it, just be aware of the awareness. Just be aware of the effervescently transparent awareness. All those things are also just awareness, or just everything, or just nothing, or just as they are. Well, we have the space for people to call in and to ask their questions or to share a little bit. So a lot of people ask me about, well, they say, well, spirituality sounds good, but what about smoking a bunch of weed and getting high? And the matter of fact is that you wouldn't be able to do this if you were smoking a bunch of weed and getting high, because you'd be swampy, you'd be sticky, you'd be constantly grasping onto this and constantly grasping onto that, constantly lost in the sauce, so to speak. So this awareness or this presence or this here-ness and now-ness is already complete, already finished, already total. So you don't need to add anything extra onto that. And when you smoke weed or when you get drunk, there's like this constant need for clinging, this constant need for sinking and swimming and being involved. So this is not to have sticky hands, but to wash our hands with the water of awareness. To just be aware, to just be present. So this has nothing to do with getting high and smoking weed or having special experiences or a complicated belief system. This isn't a kind of spiritual consumerism. To meet ourselves where we already are, in freedom from self, freedom from anything, freedom from everything. To stop binding ourselves up in ego and anger and greed and delusion and complicated thoughts. As much as we're willing to renounce or give up our complicated thoughts, then there is a great space for filling our cup up with something new, or something that's concerned with enlightenment and freedom rather than seeking and chasing and desire and fear. Like listening to the Dhamma, like exploring the Zen teachings, Zen Buddhist teachings and things like that. Not to worry about anything, where we're going to get our next hit, or where we're going to get our next fix, or what we're going to believe in next, but to perceive, to penetrate into the unnecessariness of believing in anything. That our intuition or our natural skillfulness can take the wheel in terms of making decisions, in terms of understanding. In terms of giving, in terms of listening deeply and sharing deeply. To not continuously seek after stimulation. To give seriously, to give up our ego, to give up our thoughts, to give up our seeking. To give up this dualistic framework where we're always looking for the next thought to be involved in. We're always looking for the next thing to do. We're always looking for the next thing to experience. To kick the brakes is the generosity. To sacrifice the foot on the pedal, so that the momentum of desire, the momentum of seeking, drains itself out. Some people are going downhill, some people are going uphill, so some people are on a level field, so different proclivities towards realizing that awareness of stillness. But if we can, that's why people are going downhill, they need to give up more, because it's going to be a bumpy ride. People are going uphill need to give up more because their egos are going to get a hold of them. people who are going on a still way need to give up more to see how emptiness giving up is. Everybody needs to give, and to give seriously, and to give generously, to renounce, to sacrifice, to forgive. Every point of attachment that can be identified, that can be noticed. Doesn't matter what it is. It's not about anything in particular, if you're giving gold or you're giving shit. It's just where your attachment is, where you put value onto. You have to give that. Up, away, out, down. Just give. Just abandon. Just detach. It's not about good or bad. It's not about having to ask somebody else if it's good or bad that you shit yourself. This isn't about objects, nor is it about living beings. This is about the way that it is. If you shit your pants, you stink. What do you need to think about? Just like the Buddha talked about the second arrow, right? The first arrow is the pain. So we feel the pain, or we feel the confusion, or we feel the desiring, or we feel the fearing, and then we want to know, where did this desire come from? Where did this pain come from? Where did this confusion come from? Where did that guy come from? And then that we're actually jabbing the arrow into our body when we do that. Just take the arrow out and experience awareness. And that word awareness is just like a plug that we put in our toilet so that we can see how shitty it is as we keep shitting in that awareness. That's exactly what the teaching is not about, Caleb. You need to be getting a hold of and shaked around, okay, Caleb? You're going to consider my foot up your rear end, all right? Should you consider that? That's right. That's better, Caleb. Skull, dead. Leave it at that. Let that be your practice and your path. Bazunga. Electric. You're being electrocuted. Take that medicine. Take that therapy. That electric pulse therapy. That EPT. So we can get that desire, that fear, those complicated thoughts out of you. All right, looks like we might have somebody calling in. L. Okay, go ahead, L. What do you have to share with the class? Or not? Yes. It doesn't matter. What appears before you now matters as much as you can be free. But where did it come from? What's it about? What's its real true story? All of that. Give it a break. Let it go. Everybody's looking for the quick fix. Go ahead, Al. What do you have to say? Lexicon on TikTok said nothing is real. How about I get a hold of your nose and twist it around? That'll be real, won't it? So a part of us is that we're bullshit artists. If we're not bullshitting somebody else, we're bullshitting ourselves. No declarative statements. Just don't know. Well, that's a way that you can practice generosity, Caleb, so give it a shot. Let's move over here. A little bit warmer over here. Let's get this person out of here. The person of you, the person of me. Let's get some big W's in the chat, everybody. Leave a like if you haven't already. Those who observe the precepts don't injure any of the myriad life forms of heaven and earth. So keeping to awareness. If you hurt something by mistake, you suffer for it. But those who intentionally break the precepts by injuring the living for the sake of future blessings suffer even more. Trying to take advantage of people, trying to take advantage of situations. The eternal lamp represents perfect awareness, likening the illumination of awareness to that of a lamp. Those who seek liberation see their body as the lamp, their mind as its wick, the addition of discipline as its oil, and the power of wisdom as its flame. By lighting the lamp of perfect awareness, they dispel all darkness and delusion. By lighting this lamp of perfect awareness, they dispel all darkness and delusion. And by passing on this Dharma to others, they are able to use one lamp to light thousands of lamps. And because these lamps likewise light countless other lamps, their light lasts forever. Long ago, there was a Buddha named Dipamkara, or lamplighter. This was the meaning of his name. But fools don't understand the metaphors of the Tathagata, the fully enlightened one. Persisting in delusions and clinging to the tangible, they light lamps of everyday vegetable oil and think that by illuminating the interiors of buildings, they are following the Buddha's teaching. How foolish. The light released by a Buddha from one curl between his brows can illuminate countless worlds. An oil lamp is no help. Or do you think otherwise? So a Buddha is pure awareness. Pure, unobstructed, undefiled, uncomplicated, uncontrived awareness. So there's a Buddha in you, there's a Buddha in me, there's a Buddha in everything. Everything has this Buddha nature. But we think maybe if we will do these tangible things, maybe if we'll set up the altar in this way, or we'll try to practice meditation in that way, or we'll try to make offerings to this person or to that teacher, that somehow we'll be able to recognize the light of our own lamp. But this is not the case. We have to light the lamp of the body and mind. We have to be a little bit disciplined. To experience the pristine light of awareness as it is, that dispels all the darkness of our stories, of our desires, of our fears, of our complicatedness, of our unnecessary striving and seeking. Never-endingly stacking up these blocks of ego, blocks of thoughts, thinking that we're going to get somewhere. Maybe we're going to reach heaven if we stack up enough blocks of thoughts. But it's never going to happen that way. And this isn't about heaven. This isn't about pleasure. This is about that which is beyond you and me and pleasure and pain, beyond everything, beyond all stories, beyond all questions, beyond all answers. Or do you think otherwise? Thoughts do not apply. Can we be real enough to accept that? Not just in terms of running an ultra marathon or going to the gym and bench pressing 400 pounds, but in terms of enlightenment. in terms of ending suffering, that thoughts do not apply, that your thoughts do not apply, that my thoughts do not apply to the Buddha, to the teachings of the Buddha, to the teachings of awareness. Practicing all 6 periods of the day and night means constantly cultivating enlightenment among the 6 senses and persevering in every form of awareness. Never relaxing control over the 6 senses is what's meant by all 6 periods, to be fully aware. Not thinking this and thinking that and being in the world of bullshit. It's like you went to a spa that's full of human shit, or you went to a spa that's full of your own shit, and you're relaxing in its bubbles and its stink. And you're saying this and saying that and thinking about this and saying that. The discipline is to get yourself out of the shit hot tub that you've been relaxing in and enjoying in, shower off, and become aware. Not of your thoughts about this and your thoughts about that, but seeing, hearing, smelling, feeling, awareness of the mind, here and now. Sometimes in the Buddhist tradition, we will walk around stupas, or we'll walk around these like structures that represent enlightenment. And they say, you know, they have Buddha relics inside. As for walking around stupas, the stupa is your body and mind. The monastery is your body and mind. The temple is your body and mind. The robe of the monk, the mind of the Buddha, the body of the Buddha is your body and mind. When your awareness circles your body and mind without stopping, this is called walking around a stupa. Awareness circling, going through the body and mind, awareness continuously aware, continuously aware, continuously present. This is called walking around stupas instead of sinking in our bullshit of complicated thoughts, of self and other, of fake spirituality. The sages of long ago followed this path to nirvana, to enlightenment, to freedom from suffering. But people today don't understand what this means. Instead of looking inside, they insist on looking outside. They use their material bodies to walk around material stupas, and they keep at it day and night, wearing themselves out in vain and coming no closer to their real self. Now, this is also true in terms of the mind. That outside, you're not looking inside of your mind. You're not looking into the mind or into the awareness itself. You're looking outside into all these labels, all these concepts, all these beliefs, all these stories, all these thoughts and ideas that are never ending. You are lost in the sauce of your own ego. You're bathing in shit and think that you're bathing in cotton candy. Wearing themselves out in vain and coming no closer to their real self. Now, how less so do we talk about those people that don't even try, that don't even consider about enlightenment, that don't even consider about the emptiness or the fallibility of their own thoughts and opinions and beliefs and stories. How dangerous and confused these people are. But these people who are wearing themselves out in vain, circling around these material stupas, these material practices, they are also wearing themselves out in vain and coming no closer to their real self. The same holds true for observing a fast, so we can practice not eating, for example. It's useless unless you understand what this really means. To fast means to regulate your body and mind so that they're not distracted and disturbed. We are fasting when we come here. These live streams, these gatherings, these sessions are to regulate the body and mind from being disturbed. To fast means to regulate your body and mind so that they're not distracted or disturbed. And to observe means to uphold the rules of discipline according to the Dharma, according to truth, according to awareness, according to the way that it is rather than the way that it appears to be. We're so easy to take all these turns and these tangents to go around in circles of complicated thought, but we don't want to come right here and now. So we have to break through that. We need a little bit of discipline to say, no, I'm going to come right here and now. I'm not going to keep revolving around and around in my BS or other people's BS. I'm busy in the work of going around the stupa, of arriving to be here in the now, at home, without being disturbed, without being distracted. It's going to take everything that you have now. And that taking everything that you have now is going to be able to release you from everything that you have now. Fasting means guarding against the 6 attractions on the outside and the 3 poisons on the inside. Now, do we know what the 6 attractions are? The involvements of seeing, the involvements of hearing, the involvements of tasting, the involvements of smelling, the involvements of thinking, the involvements of feeling. You see the ride, you see the roller coaster, you see the spinner around her, but you don't get on it because you're guarded and aware. And you don't fall into some kind of weird egoic bullshit about, am I brave enough to get on the ride? This is a cheat code. This is a free code. You don't have to have fear of missing out, because this is the awareness that pervades everywhere, that is beyond any ride and beyond any special experience. Fasting means guarding against the 6 attractions on the outside, the attractions of seeing, the attractions of things to be heard, the attractions of things to be felt. Guarding against those attractions on the outside, and the 3 poisons on the inside. The poison of greed, the poison of anger, the poison of non-practical complicated thinking. Now that non-practical complicated thinking means you don't know what you're doing. You don't know why you're doing it. And yet you're doing it. And you're not willing to talk about what you're doing. And you're not willing to let go of or put down that which you cling on to and fixate on. That's why it's non-practical, and that's why it's complicated thinking. Wearing themselves out in vain and coming no closer to their real self. And striving through contemplation to purify your body and mind. You can't just sit here with your fist up your ass, and every time that you take it out and show everybody your shit-covered fist and you're smelling up the room and see. You're not getting a C, you're getting a D, you're getting an E, you're getting an F. This is the way of striving through contemplation. But contemplation isn't a striving, it's an awareness, it's a circling, it's an allowing of awareness to interpenetrate everything, to purify this body and mind of bullshit, this body and mind of ego. Fasting also includes the 5 kinds of food. So we don't just eat nothing. Life is nothing. Everything is nothing. No. Fasting also includes the 5 kinds of food. First, there's delight in the Dharma. There's delight in the truth leading to and about and from awareness, from Nibbana, towards Nibbana. Concerned with Nibbana, concerned with enlightenment, concerned with the ending of suffering, not concerned with bullshit. This is the delight that comes from acting in accordance with the Dharma. The delight of the shining and the pervading of the light of awareness. The light of appreciation of not being a retarded idiot that hasn't taken this stuff seriously, that hasn't been willing to self-sacrifice, that is constantly turned around and around and around in a dizzy whirlwind of bullshit by attaching to what they see, attaching to what they hear, attaching to what they think. The CEO of their own business of bullshit. This is the delight that comes from acting in accordance with the Dharma, acting in accordance with awareness, purifying the body and mind, allowing contemplation, allowing awareness to self-purify the appearance of the body, the appearance of the mind. Contemplation, allowing awareness, allowing presence, allowing that inner Karen and that inner Randolph to shut the fuck up and get out. Nobody cares about your opinion. This isn't about you. This isn't about what you think about. How willing you are to crucify that self, that ego, that master bullshitter on the cross. That's the real Jesus. That's the real non-binary Jesus. The Dharma isn't some sound bowl menstrual healing. It's like lightning, it's like fire, it's like wind. It doesn't care about what you think. It doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care about your preferences. It's free from caring about bullshit. Awareness is free from being involved with bullshit. Bullshit relies on awareness, not the other way around. So this kind of fasting, this Dharma fasting, this enlightenment fasting, this Nibbana fasting, also includes 5 kinds of food. First, there is delight in the Dharma. This is delight that comes from acting in accordance with the Dharma. Second is harmony in meditation. This is the harmony of body and mind that comes from seeing through subject and object. The harmony of body and mind that comes through not picking and choosing anymore. Seeing through duality, seeing through subjectivity and objectivity, seeing through differences, seeing through right and wrong, seeing through good and bad, seeing through pleasant and unpleasant. Harmony of body and mind that comes from seeing through subject and object. Third is invocation. The invocation of Buddhas with both your mouth and mind. Invoking emanations of awareness, invoking pure experiences, pure objects of, pure remembrances of awareness, of Nibbana, of no more suffering. Fourth is resolution, the resolution to pursue virtue, whether walking, standing, sitting, or lying down. The resolution to be virtuous. The resolution to stop being a functioning alcoholic. The resolution to stop pushing out your poison of your ego and your judgments and your opinions, going around judging everybody. To be virtuous, to be mindful. Your resolution to be mindful, irregardless of what you like and what you don't like. And fifth is liberation. The liberation of your mind from worldly contamination. The release of your mind from all stories and beliefs and ideas of the world. These five are the foods of fasting. Unless a person eats these five pure foods, they are wrong to think they're fasting. Also, once you stop eating the food of delusion, if you touch it again, you break your fast. And once you break it, you reap no blessing from it. The world is full of deluded people who don't see this. They indulge their body and mind in all manner of evil. They give free rein to their passions and have no shame. And when they stop eating ordinary food, they call it fasting. How absurd. America is full to the brim of people like this. Modern America is overflowing with hordes of demonic people, if you want to give a label to it. But just listen to it like this, right? Americans can't stop eating. Americans are obese with greed, anger, and delusion. Not just the saturated fats and the processed sugars and the food that they're eating. Americans are obese with greed, anger, and delusion. They have no shame. The world is full of deluded people who don't see this. They indulge their body and mind in all manner of evil. They give free rein to their passions, their desires, their addictions, and have no shame. And when they stop eating ordinary food, they call it fasting. How absurd. So this is to the fake spiritualists out there, the TikTok spiritualists, etc. But you know, we're lucky as Americans, we're even lucky to contact fake spirituality, let alone to contact the real Dhamma, let alone to listen to the teachings of Bodhidharma. These people are shameless. They're deluded. They only know about eating deluded thoughts, the food of delusion. They don't know the Dharma. So let's share it with them. Let's embody it. Let's not just be completely pushed around and controlled by our passions, by our greed, by our anger, by our delusions. How absurd. It's the same with worshiping. You have to understand the meaning and adapt to conditions. Meaning includes action and non-action. Whoever understands this follows the Dharma. So worshiping, we're worshiping our teacher, we're worshiping the teachings. It has action and non-action, doing and not doing. And it's not worshiping concerned with the Dhamma if it's done with attachment. So doing without attachment, not doing without attachment. Whatever we happen to worship, whatever we happen to feed. And adapting to conditions. Not just being like a chicken with its head cut off, running around squealing and squalling and whining, but adapting to conditions. Adapting to contexts. Whoever understands this follows the Dharma. Worship means reverence and humility. It means revering your real self and humbling delusions. If you can wipe out evil desires and harbor good thoughts, even if nothing shows, it's worship. Such form is its real form. Wiping out evil desires, being a harbor for good thoughts, being a refuge for good thoughts, being a lighthouse for kindness, being a lighthouse for generosity, being a lighthouse for forgiveness, being a lighthouse for wisdom and compassion. The Lord Buddha wanted worldly people to think of worship as expressing humility and subduing the mind. That's real worship. That's real worship when it comes to the Buddha. Expressing humility and subduing the mind. So he told them to prostrate their bodies to show their reverence, to let the external express the internal, to harmonize essence and form. Those who fail to cultivate the inner meaning and concentrate instead on the outward expression never stop indulging in ignorance, hatred, and evil while exhausting themselves to no avail. They can deceive others with postures, remain shameless before sages and vain before mortals, but they'll never escape the wheel, much less achieve any merit. But the Bathhouse Sutra says, by contributing to the bathing of monks, people receive limitless blessings. This would appear to be an instance of external practice achieving merit, achieving blessings. How does this relate to beholding the mind? Now, we don't know about blessings as Americans most of the time because our blessings are McDonald's cheeseburgers. I've got money, I can buy a cheeseburger, I've got a gun, I can punish, I got a whip, they're going to be my slave. That's our American culture. But for Asian culture, for Buddhist culture, it's a blessings. When you do good things happen. When you get concerned with the higher mind and the higher teachings, your life takes a higher pathway. When you practice meditation, when you subdue delusions and become a harbor for good thoughts, your life transforms itself. We call this blessings or merits. You do good deeds, good things happen, and that this is ultimately more valuable than money. Just like good health is more valuable than the money that you have in your bank account. So this person is asking Bodhidharma because Bodhidharma is talking about it's all about the internal. It's all about the subtle meaning. It's not about the outward expression. He says those who fail to cultivate the inner meaning and concentrate instead on the outward expression never stop indulging in ignorance, hatred, and evil while exhausting themselves to no avail. They can deceive others with their postures, how they present themselves, right? They can remain shameless before sages and vain before mortals, but they will never escape the wheel, much less achieve any merit, so that outward appearances are not where the truth is. You have to cultivate the inner meaning or the inner deep looking or the inner resonance with awareness itself, rather than the ego's interpretations of everything. The ego is just a bullshit artist, and your ego is the greatest bullshit artist of all. You can convince yourself, you can convince others, but you won't be free from suffering. So the Bathhouse Sutra says, but by contributing to the bathing of monks, people receive limitless blessings. This would appear to be an instance of external practice achieving merit or achieving blessings. How does this relate to beholding the mind? Remember what Bodhidharma says. Bodhidharma says, to realize awareness is liberation. To recognize awareness is liberation. Bodhidharma doesn't say, whatever shit you have on your ass, you can wipe your hand with it and smear it all over your face and smell up the room, and that's going to have something to do with liberation. Your ego isn't in charge. Your greed, your anger, your delusion, your complicated, not contemplative thoughts about other people and about yourself and about reality are just shit in between your cheeks. And I'm not talking about these cheeks. Tough lessons. So how does this relate to beholding the mind? Here, the bathing of monks doesn't refer to the washing of anything tangible. When the Lord preached the Bathhouse Sutra, he wanted his disciples to remember the Dharma of washing. So he used an everyday concern to convey his real meaning, which he couched in his explanation of merit from the 7 offerings. Of these 7, the first is clear water, the second fire, the third soap, the fourth willow catkins, the fifth pure ashes, the sixth ointment, and the 7th the inner garment. He used these 7 to represent 7 other things that cleanse and enhance a person by eliminating the delusion and filth of a poisoned mind. The first of these 7 is morality, which washes away excess, just as clear water washes away dirt. Second is wisdom, which penetrates subject and objectivity, just as fire warms water. Third is discrimination, or discernment, which gets rid of evil practices, just as soap gets rid of grime. Fourth is honesty, which purges delusions, just as chewing willow catkins purifies the breath. Fifth is true faith, which resolves all doubts, just as rubbing pure ashes on the body prevents illnesses. Sixth is patience, which overcomes resistance and disgrace, just as ointment softens the skin. And 7th is shame, which redresses evil deeds, just as the inner garment covers up an ugly body. These 7 represent the real meaning of the sutra. When he spoke this sutra, the Tathagata was talking to far-sighted followers of the Mahayana, not to narrow-minded people of dim vision. It's not surprising that people nowadays don't understand. The bathhouse is the body. When you light the fire of wisdom, you warm the pure water of the precepts and bathe the true Buddha nature within you. By upholding these 7 practices, you add to your virtue. The monks of that age were perceptive. They understood the Buddha's meaning. They followed his teaching, perfected their virtue, and tasted the fruit of Buddhahood. But people nowadays can't fathom these things. People nowadays can't fathom being perceptive. People nowadays can't fathom looking deeply. People nowadays can't fathom the depth of how far their mind has been poisoned by greed, anger, and delusion. The Tathagata was talking to far-sighted followers of the Great Way, not to narrow-minded people of dim vision. It's not surprising that people nowadays don't understand. The bathhouse is the body. When you light the fire of wisdom, you warm the pure water of the precepts and bathe the true Buddha nature within you. The precepts are the way of mindfulness and detachment, the way of not drinking alcohol, not getting drunk, the way of not killing, the way of not stealing, the way of not speaking lies. the way of protecting your sexual energy, being very careful with your sexual energy. The bathhouse is the body. When you light the fire of wisdom, remember the fire of wisdom is that seeing through subject and object, seeing through the duality of self and other. You warm the pure water of the precepts or the pure water of mindfulness that does not find conflict within or without, does not create conflict. And you bathe the true Buddha nature within you. The true Buddha nature, or the true awareness, is already within you, but you haven't bathed it, so it's covered up by all of this muck, all of this dirtiness of greed, anger, delusion, complicated thoughts that are impractical. The monks of that age were perceptive. They understood the Buddha's meaning. They followed his teaching, perfected their virtue, and tasted the fruit of Buddhahood. But people nowadays can't fathom these things. They use ordinary water to wash a physical body and think they're following the sutra, but they are mistaken. Our true Buddha nature has no shape, and the dust of affliction has no form. How can people use ordinary water to wash an intangible body? It won't work. When will they wake up? To clean such a body, you have to behold it. Behold the mind. Realize awareness. That is no other than liberation. Bathe the body of the Buddha with awareness. Heat the body of awareness with the fire of wisdom. No duality, no this or that, no good or bad, no right or wrong. Hold back. Hold back the horses of greed, of anger, of delusion. Hold back the reins of thinking. Don't think, just be aware. That's our live session for today. May you all be well, happy, peaceful, free from suffering. May you remember to bathe the Buddha within. And I'll see you again very, very soon. Thank you.